Hi there, this is Amy the Hypnotist. Today I'm going to talk about how childhood trauma impacts work stress. Thanks ahead for watching and liking this video. And I urge you to stick around to the end because I'm going to share with you a tool to help with insomnia. Everyone typically has at least one work horror story. A boss who doesn't pay taxes, a company shut down overnight, a person from top management who resigns for no known reason, or a coworker or a client who goes out of his way to make your life more difficult. But what if you have a history of unpleasant work experiences, some of which have caused such severe anxiety that it's impacted your sleep, your health, your personal life, and created consistent feelings of dread? What if you were so fearful of being monitored, interrogated, or verbally attacked by a coworker, supervisor, or client that you found it challenging to ever let your guard down, communicate openly or honestly, or even concentrate? At what point would you pull the plug knowing that just about every job you've ever had has been a significant stressor in your life? All jobs come with some sort of stress, right? Personalities, environments, deadlines, challenges. And as a newcomer, it's impossible to anticipate everything that goes on behind the scenes or flies beneath the radar during an interview or even the first few months on the job. Yet, had you considered that perhaps as a survivor of childhood trauma, some types of stress may indeed place your nervous system on overload? That depending on the type of abuse or trauma you endured, having a certain kind of supervisor or work environment or customer base may consistently trigger you to the point that you are unable to function optimally or on a long-term basis? As a hypnotist, of the clients who spent years or decades in therapy trying to overcome their trauma, their history of employment or employment turbulence was rarely explored. They spent time processing the past, delving into relationship patterns with family and spouses, but their work patterns were somehow never considered relevant. And yet in my role, it became abundantly clear that many adult survivors of childhood trauma or any kind of trauma struggled more than most in finding consistently satisfying, stable, and emotionally safe work environment. Strangely, this was hardly ever the presenting issue that brought folks through my door. However, when we dove deeper into the cause of their symptoms, workplace stress triggers almost always came up. And with further exploration, these triggers were in some way related to the kind of turmoil experienced in childhood. One client came to me for anxiety and panic attacks related to throughway driving. She hadn't yet pieced together the bulk of her highway driving was to and from a work environment that felt physically and emotionally unsafe. The car was simply the place where she could safely process her stress and essentially have her own private scheduled breakdowns. Thus, her anxiety was related to work and not to driving at all. She was in a position where she had to defend the limitations of her role and resources to her clients who were in desperate circumstances. Being consistently berated and sometimes even bullied by her clients reminded her of her mother, who was often verbally and physically aggressive. Another client sought help to manage autoimmune symptoms and chronic pain. She later realized that her symptoms worsened after she took a high-paying corporate job where her supervisor micromanaged her work and frequently interrogated her. This type of work environment triggered a fight or flight response in her, created insomnia, and provoked high anxiety such that she could not focus or concentrate. She wondered how someone like her, who was always prepared and at the top of her game, could be treated so disrespectfully. Once she realized her father had the same abrasive style of parenting, she understood how work had become a trigger to her physical symptoms and her autoimmune disease. What can a person with a history of childhood trauma do to reduce the probability of ending up in an emotionally intolerable work situation. In the words of ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, know thyself. And if I may add some of my own wisdom, it would include the importance of being honest with yourself regarding your own stress triggers. Understand how your specific trauma creates specific vulnerabilities within yourself and which types of relationship dynamics or work environment creates a fight or flight response in you. Some of the most common work stress triggers, particularly with those who have a history of childhood trauma, would include an authoritative or autocratic management style. The boss who's quick to anger, talks over you, or whose moods can fluctuate will trigger a trauma response and create nervous system overload. Working in the front lines with potentially angry clients. Look, discomfort creating healthy boundaries could create anxiety, particularly if this practice was neither modeled nor encouraged by your parents and is not a skill you acquired in your adulthood. A noisy, chaotic workplace with very little alone time to process or filter, survivors of childhood trauma may easily experience sensory overload. The inability to retreat to a safe, quiet place throughout the workday or at home can severely impact one's ability to focus or cope at work, or even unwind during non-work hours or non-work days. Too many unknown factors considering the kind of upheaval that may have occurred while growing up. Too much change or certain kinds of change may trigger an anxiety response. Some of these details are difficult to uncover in an interview, so conducting further research on your own, reading company reviews, and talking to previous or current employees or contractors can certainly shed more light on whether a company or a specific role is a good fit for you. If you recognize a pattern of choosing high-stress positions that often create nervous system overload, hypnosis can help create greater emotional resiliency. This is achieved by resolving unconscious conflicts from the past, learning to manage trauma triggers, and improving communication. So not every person, even with similar childhood traumas, will have the same triggers. And ideally, a person may be able to work through some of their trauma such that the old triggers no longer produce the same heightened response patterns. Hypnosis can help you sort out whether your presenting issue is due to work stress triggers or something occurring in your personal life, or both. Combining hypnosis with advanced energy healing techniques can help dismantle the fight or flight response and provide tools to manage and redirect unwanted patterns. Now, thanks for sticking it out to the end of this video. Below this video, I left a link for sleep hypnosis to help with insomnia. For more tools, resources, and information, please visit sensoriumhypnosis.com.